Bildy here with part 2. Yeah, I'm gonna finish this now, add a little bit to it. DT plashada pet. That's hot water pipes. It's centralized heating. Not centralized in a building, it's centralized in neighborhoods. They insulate these pipes. Steam runs to all the buildings from steam generators. In industrial cities, they use waste heat from the factories to heat the buildings. It's no thermostat, even in the new ones that I've seen. You get too hot, you open a window. Not really efficient, but the heat is included in the cost of your monthly bills. It's very inexpensive. My monthly bills, I don't even know what they are now. Used to be about less than 40 bucks a month. That's electricity, gas. Gas is just for your stove, your cooking stove. Matter of fact, we got electric oven. It's just for the top, the range. Gas. Everything else is electric. And then the hot water is provided that goes through radiators and heats the building. Or heats your room, heats your apartment. Anyway, most of them are run underground. Some places they have to go above ground with them. They got the ugly insulation on them and stuff. And that's one of the older buildings. That's the way they are, 2 stories. One of my friends lives in one. He says they were built by German prisoners after the Second World War. A little better fit and finish than what you find in the Khrushchev era buildings. Those are the buildings everybody was living in before the big housing push. They put several families in one apartment because they didn't have any place else to put them. There's some nice nostalgic video. I'm going to include a link for one of them on this one. It's really fun to watch. It's a music video about people living in the 50s, early 50s especially, piled up in these little apartments. I don't remember the name of it, but I'll find it. Oh, they have exercise equipment here too. It's over on the other side. I was thinking that's it. Pretty elaborate playground equipment. They pull out on the stops. They did everything very nicely. All the stops. They don't even have any stops left to pull. Very well lit. Got a lot of extra lights around them. Everything's very well thought out, very tastefully done. Very well done, long term. Didn't do anything chintzy or cheap. They got new roofs going on. Everything too. Everything's getting a new roof. Those originally had the asphalt impregnated cement fiber stuff on it. I've never even seen that kind of stuff in the U.S. except in like old chemical plants and generation plants and the power generation plants and the refineries. They had that stuff that was all laced with asbestos. I don't know if they had asbestos in it here or not. Asbestos isn't as hazardous as they say. If you don't grind it up into a powder and stick it up your nose, you're probably going to be all right around it. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of journalists, and I use that term very lightly, very broadly. They're doing YouTube videos, and they're locals that speak English. Usually women, usually attractive women. There's somebody behind them, somebody helping them, somebody putting some money into it, and they're just being real nice and regular and folksy, plucky Ukrainians that just want to be free, and putting all these NATO talking points. Oh, that's a pretty good technique, I guess. Don't let them fool you. It's easy to find Russians that hate Russia. Usually a lot of your expats do. A lot of refugees come here. Da, конечно. Nikki, die. She wants to take her coat off because it's very nice. Oh.
Я положу на скамейку.
Okay, хорошо. Oh, let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, there's the exercise equipment. A lot of these, not all of them, of course, but maybe not even a majority, but a lot of the refugees that come from post-Soviet space to America are wanted on criminal charges, especially the rich ones, the oligarchs. A lot of oligarchs living in London and New York and Tel Aviv, who just stole everything that wasn't nailed down here, and worse. Anyway, they flee, and then of course they got sour grapes, and they are willing to pay for people to do this propaganda, this horrible anti-Russian propaganda. I had an interesting experience with, I screened a movie somebody made about a specific person who grew up in a small town in Siberia, and she went to that town to meet his teachers and his people that knew him. And there are all these Russian women in America. This was in Houston, and they were there to screen this movie, and they were so angry at the end of it. Why you show ugly town in Siberia? Russia's beautiful country. You should show Moscow and Petersburg. It wasn't about Russia. It was about this particular guy who lived in Siberia. You know, they just lost track of the whole freaking point. There's this shame thing. They're ashamed of collectives and small villages and the culture. They want to be a modern Western type culture. Now, those are the kind of people that come to the West, and those are the only ones that you're going to hear from. They're not patriots. They hate their own country. It would be like bunch of people from Portland or San Francisco and go take refuge in Canada, and they interview them, and they'll tell you how horrible America is, how horrible the U.S. is. Anyway, that's something to consider. So a lot of these people are even debriefed by the CIA. If they come here as refugees, of course they get debriefed by the CIA, and they're told what to say. They're given specific talking points. And if they stick to those talking points, they'll get promoted, and they'll find a way to make a little money. Got to know where your information comes from and what's behind it. I don't have anything to hide. I'm telling you who I am up front, where I live, what I think, my history, and it's provable. I've been blogging and commentating, doing the commentariat circuits for a long time, for years and years and years. You can go to some of my Discus accounts, and I'll put the links for them, and you can see the comments I've made back going probably to like 2008 or so, and I've been consistent. I've changed my mind about things, and I always told why I changed my mind. I gave the story behind it. I didn't just switch sides without saying anything and pretend I've always been that way. I've caught a lot of people doing that. Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Just a shape you can pull yourself around on. Yeah, it's funny though. I've always listed that as a credential. My discus history. I never hidden it. I'm surprised that they haven't just taken it down because it is a credential. It is worth something. You can see I've been consistent, and I am who I say I am. A lot of my people that I was arguing with that took their comments down, so now there's no context for the ones that I made, but they're still there, and you can see the gist of what I'm saying. You can see the stories of things as they unfolded. So anybody wants to say I'm an agent or a Putin fanboy or I'm a agent of the Kremlin, you know, I got some pretty good proof that I'm not. I love truth, and it just so happens the Russian government is more aligned with the truth and with logical consistency and with fairness than the West is right now. It's not all just about my narrative versus somebody else's narrative. It's not about narratives. It's not about fooling people. Only one side's doing that. These people that pretend to be superior and say, oh, you know, he said, they said, everybody's lying. The truth is somewhere in the middle. No, it's not. Are there any heroes? Are there any people that are great statesmen that want fairness? Let me see. A lot of people like JFK. I think JFK is pretty on spot. I think he's pretty woke. He wasn't a perfect man. He wasn't even a very good man. He cheated on his wife. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of evidence that he is a bisexual. He had a guy living in the White House there named Lem. This is interesting things to look into, but it doesn't matter. I think I respect the man, and I respect what he's wanting to do. He was wanting to break up the CIA. He's wanting to get us out of the Fed to break their power. These are good things. Well, it got him a hole in the head, and that's not always inevitable too. He had, I think, he had a lot of little windows of opportunity that he gave them. You watch your P's and Q's and you keep it between the lines. I think there's a karma thing. A lot of these people that got assassinated, a lot of people that got horrifying things happen to them, not always, but often, they gave them the ticket to do it with. Sometimes by turning on them, by being a part of the system to begin with, taking those vows. And then when they turn on them, well, they come do you. Kennedy's an interesting family. My mom was a Kennedy. We were the Scottish Lowland Kennedys, though, not the Irish Kennedys. Actually, the Irish Kennedys were Scottish Kennedys before 1633. They fled the conversion to Protestantism. They remained Catholic, so they went to Ireland. Anyway, that doesn't really have much meaning or relation to anything. It's just interesting. Jumpin' Jack Flash. He was a gas. But it's all right now. In fact, it's a gas. But anyway, you can't compare that, somebody trying to do the right thing, with somebody that's just absolutely freaking evil. And say, oh, the truth is really somewhere in between. That's posturing. It's virtue signaling. It's pseudo-intellectualism. Yeah, you have good bread that you want to eat. It's fresh from the oven. It smells great. It's nutritious. And then you have a dirty, rotten, corrupt loaf that's been sitting out in the rain, and then it gets mold in it, and it turns green and black, and it shrivels up. Okay, well, you know, the truth is halfway in between, right? You got to have a balance between corruption and purity, right? Yeah, that's what a lot of people believe. They believe that good and evil are opposite principles of the universe, like yin and yang, but they're not. Corruption evil. It's not necessary. It's no balance. It's a corruption. It's a destruction. And it takes energy for this destruction. And it takes a lot of energy to maintain it. That's why it's not sustainable. That's good news. It's all going to reach equilibrium. Equilibrium. Eventually. Anyway, this used to be a little restaurant and bar. Oh, I'm not getting a real good image of it. That's a tennis court. That's the restaurant and bar. Yeah, you could go there and buy some beer and sit on the bench, watch your kids play. I didn't, because that's kind of bad form. But they had a patio out here. It seems empty now. They're going to do something with it. Maybe it just opens up for tourist season now. Got an enclosed tennis court. They redid all this stuff. Oh, I just keep flogging that idea, but it needs to be. If I had the time and the technical savvy, I would take one of those videos of showing of the horrors of living in Ukraine now and just take it apart. Would it do any good, you think? Please comment. Anyway, I'm going to shut this one off here. That's enough for part 2. I'm kind of got brain fog setting in. I'm too distracted, got too much going on. I need to sit at a desk and make a real good coherent video. But I hope you enjoyed this and got something from it. Uncle Bill D signing out.